Welcome to the Let's Play for Twilight Tower. I'm joined by two of the devs, Casey and Justin.
Howdy.
How's it going?
All right, so let's just jump in right away. Well, I guess it should be mentioned that you guys were a finalist for the Game Jam game for GDWC. What Game Jam did you guys participate in?
So we participated in a jam from the Society of Play, and the Society of Play used to be called the Dallas Society of Play, which was a local one. But once COVID really got going, it turned into more of to a Discord channel that
Mhm.
became like this, basically global. So now we're having people from all over the world join and everything. And the jam was called the Hex Jam. It was the second one that the Society of Play's done, and basically everyone voted on color palettes that they liked, and then
Oh,
once the color palette is voted on, then everyone has to make a game using this color palette. Essentially, this was the one that was voted on, and I uh, almost tried to force everyone to do this color palette because I loved it so much, and I was so glad to see. I was making all sorts of like mock-ups and photos using only this color palette, and I was trying to swing votes towards this one, and I think it worked. So
yeah. So are you? Well, I guess depending on the different roles that you guys were on, but are you then sort of an artist? Because I agree, like the color palette is like really striking and it grabs your attention right away.
it's beautiful. I am not the illustrator, but I am a designer.
Okay.
So I'm a visual designer turned programmer, and so everything I make tends to kind of have this UI sort of approach
Yeah.
to it. I think, as you can see here.
The color palette, actually, when we first started talking about this jam and the color palette was finally settled, it did give us a lot of inspiration for thematics with the game as well.
Mhm.
Not only in music, but in sort of the narrative sense and angle we wanted to go to, because it kind of had like this tension in the palette, and it was definitely something interesting to work with. Confined us into like a sort of like an area to work on and build something out of, which was nice.
Yeah, we were looking at like pictures of sunset, pretty much,
Yeah.
like and seeing some of these palettes in the sky, and I started thinking about like, okay, this, when the sun goes down, what kind of emotions come out? Like you're in the woods, and the sun's starting to go down, and you're seeing these colors. Like, what does that feel like? And that's like, oh, like like the bears and wolves or whatever are starting to emerge, and we're having to go find our hiding place
Yeah.
and get safe and everything. So there's a tension to it. And while we were talking about that, Justin here, he's the musician and sounds guy. He started playing this riff on his guitar, and it's the one you hear in the background, the very beginning of the song.
Mm.
Like that was kind of where it started, and we were listening to that, and I think we were all getting into this really like melodramatic mood, like looking at these pictures with these color palettes and listening to the music, and we were like, okay, what is that? What's that going to turn into for a game?
Yeah. So
Yeah, a little bit of world building. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to say that, Justin, I'm so happy that out of, I don't know how many of these I've done, like 20 or 30 or so, but you're the first musician that we've had here. And same thing, like I'm a musician as well with the games that I'm making. So I'm really happy that I got to have you here. And so is all the music done by you as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Casey and I go back, years and years, and we've done a number of small games together, jams and different things, and so we kind of have a good flow. And but everything we do together, yeah, everything's done from the ground up from an audio perspective.
That's awesome.
And he mentioned this when we had the very first meeting I was alluding to earlier. Yeah, literally just fiddling around while we're trying to find a mode or a mood, excuse me, and fitting like into like a thematic kind of concept, and it kind of works. You kind of world build around it, and things from music to art and narrative help build an immersive experience for players, and we kind of had an organic approach to it, I think, which was nice to make more cohesive output.
So it's not like we were like, what genre are we going to do? I mean, we kind of had a
Yeah.
little bit of a genre. I was like, I want to play with cards.
Yeah.
That was,
Mhm.
I want to play with cards, but what would it be like with cards when you have this music playing and you have this color palette? And it's like you're probably fighting for your survival. Like something bad is about to happen or is coming. Maybe you imagine, maybe not, and you have to survive. And I guess that gets into why the stats ended up the way they were, like exhaustion, distrust, hunger, guilt, danger. Like it was just like, what are some words that kind of describe these emotions, and then
Yeah.
how do we kind of play with those?
But I really enjoy the list that you have. I think there's quite a few here, like distrust and guilt are some that are pretty uncommon. Like if you've played Darkest Dungeon, they have like it's like
Rest.
psychosis and stuff like that. Yeah, but this is like, it seems to like go into even other like avenues than most games do.
Yeah, one thing I've always liked, like if you play a game like Disco Elysium, I've always really appreciated games that come up with like RPG stats that aren't just, you know, like strength, dexterity, constitution. I mean, I love those to death, but also I'm like, what weird stuff happens in your mind when you're like, wait, what are these new stats to work with? So
Yeah.
I really wanted to play with that as well. And so that, go ahead.
How long was the game jam, by the way?
The game jam was 2 weeks.
Okay.
And we started veering towards those because we've done a lot of the game jams that were like 48 hours, and it's just like you just end up slaughtering yourself for a game that you wish you could have worked on longer. So, but then I end up taking that same approach of the 48-hour game jam, applying it to the 2 weeks, and then I slaughter myself anyway. So.
Yeah.
We definitely put a lot of we front loaded this one for sure. I mean, that first weekend was, you know, very busy because we kind of have that habit too. I was definitely not familiar with, like, I was like, cool, I did all my work in like 3 days, and I was like, I got 2 weeks. But, you know, Casey being like design and programming all together, you know, he's breathing like a sigh of relief with that extra timeline.
Yeah.
It definitely helps. You can see it in the output of this game. I mean, I'd say this is one of the more, I think, intriguing offerings that we've put together from a jam before.
And was it just the two of you, or there was a third?
There was a third, the illustrator, who was made the eye-popping, eye-catching card art and the characters and everything. And he's really good at creating very unique, like characters and just subconscious things. Like, and we've worked with him on a few projects as well. And in a way, you know, like his art style and the way that Jessica creates music and the way that I do UI kind of have coalesced into what this game is, because we try to make a game that wasn't, you know, dependent on a bunch of like 3D angles and animation and stuff. We were like, how can we like showcase our abilities to its fullest extent without overreaching to add a bunch of skills we don't have or aren't as good at. So we've found a way to showcase Colin's art, the artist, and his illustration in a way that wasn't like harmful to his process, as well as, you know, being able to put it together in some sort of UI on my side, and then the music back.
And what about the general story? Sorry to say, it's a bit difficult to sort of have this conversation and read along. So can you tell me a bit about the story as well, and sort of the narrative and what happens in the game?
Yeah, so I had mentioned earlier, it was like the going off of that feeling of like the sun setting and you feel like there's some danger coming and you need to find safety. And we just really amped that up into a world where you can't escape from that danger. It's not like you can go into your cabin in the woods and just pull the blankets over your head. It's like something is coming for you. So we started going off of the idea that something's coming for you. And we're like, what is coming for you? And we turned it into this. There's sand rising up through this tower that you're in, that you've been exiled to somehow. So there's sand coming up from below, and you don't know why it's coming, but you've been saved by this character Friend, who seems to know what's going on a little bit better than you. And Friend is now kind of saving your life a lot. Like, you're kind of the fumbling new person here, and Friend keeps saving your life. And so you're starting to build a friendship. You're starting to build a relationship with Friend as you're trying to climb up, and there's this sand coming up. But every time you go to sleep at night, a voice starts talking in your head, and at first it's very like it gives you a false sense of like safety. Like, it's like, oh, here, I'll just give you everything you need. It's so nice, everything's so nice. But you start to realize that it seems to have an evil intention, and I guess you can kind of start to sense that anyway. And then as it goes along, you start to realize that the the sand is actually caused by this creature that is invading your dreams and your mind and stuff, and so you're trying to climb while also at the same time you're almost afraid to go to sleep.
Is that the creature that we saw during the nighttime, the sort of pinkish ghost figure?
Yeah.
You got it. And he would definitely like you to become, one with his sand, and so you and friend are trying your best to escape it constantly while he's, not only, the sand's coming and the tower itself is presenting challenges that you have to overcome or opportunities to help others. Each of these cards kind of represent more of an action that you can take along, your journey for that day.
Yeah.
But then in between scenes, so to speak, the dreams, like they're trying to plant, ideas in your head and make you feel certain ways and think certain things. So who knows what's going on in this tower and what these things really want, but it might not be the best thing for you.
Yeah, I like to Casey's point when you said that, of course, sleep is meant to be sort of the safe place, but it quickly becomes not so safe.
Yeah, so there's like nowhere to hide, essentially, from this torture. Mm-hmm. So yeah, friend is a vital part of the story here. Like, you can see in some of the text, like whenever there was a problem, friend kind of like intervenes. Friend can save you from like accidentally getting bit by like a poisonous creature, or it like he stops you from falling down something, and that's built into the mechanics, which is the higher the distrust is, the less often friend will save you, and the lower it is, the more often friend will save you.
Oh yeah.
And so you can even get to a point where if you max out the distrust, friend will confront you, and then you have a list of options that you can do that will dramatically change what's going to happen in the story. But you can also impress friend, and so that's part of like you have like the rescue stranger card there, where if you decide to rescue the stranger, the distrust will go down. Friend will like think better of you. Friend will help you more, but it took a lot of time out of the day. And when you use up a lot of time, the sand's going to catch up on you faster when you could have been grabbing food and running up and all that sort of thing. So you're kind of balancing like being a good person and trying to survive. Yeah. And that's the kind of tension that we wanted to build in this, where it's sort of ambiguous as to what you should be doing. Like, you want to be a good person, right? But you're also that could get you killed.
And there is an end, right? This is here the 5 nights left until the 7th day, so it's not just about surviving until you hit demise. There is an end.
Yeah, friend has always been hinting at he somehow knows that if you make it to the 7th day that the sand will stop.
I don't know.
He definitely knows more than he lets on, for sure.
Yeah.
And we kind of want to create like this suspense, like this suspecting kind of feel in the player too. Like, who do I trust and what am I actually supposed to do? And one of the things we want to do with this game too, and we do with the narrative, because we were talking about the narrative stuff too, is it's, we want to put people in situations where they have to make difficult or worse choices. It's not easy to just go in there and just like be this superhero guy. We want the story to reflect, there's complexity, and there's difficult choices you have to make at times. And it's not always easy. When you look at some of the cards that you can choose to play, sometimes there's things that you'd like to do, like help somebody, but sometimes there's things you need to do, like feed yourself.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
And the music during this nighttime sequences is like really, really grabbing me. Those like small percussive, I don't know, synth hits. They were like so dreamy, and they just bounce around. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you dig it. Big reverb, it's like some kind of bell. I was messing around using Serum, and it's just fun to do that kind of stuff. I have a lot of fun doing it. Well, Casey's beating his head against the keyboard, figuring out logic and programming problems. Yeah. So I'm like, check out these cool sounds, like tweaking knobs,
And from a pacing perspective, it's like you've been building this tension with the song the whole time, and then when you sit down to like talk to friend for a while, it like goes into this very peaceful sound, like this moment of like sharing this experience with somebody and working through it. And then of course you go to sleep, and now creepy music.
Yeah. And I noticed as well that during the first night, the figure said "sleep well" with a little smiley face. And that's always a little creepy. And now they're just saying sleep well, and
Yeah, what I would have liked is if the actual picture at the top started smiling or something,
Oh,
like a
yeah.
really scary smile. We didn't have time for that.
yeah, there it is again. Just keep on dreaming with the smiley face.
Mhm. What a nice fellow, that dream, right?
Yeah, yeah. Nothing suspicious at all.
Not at all.
So this isn't your first game together then?
No,
Okay.
no. We've been making games together for a long time. We had one game jam in particular. I don't know if you've heard of the Game Maker's Toolkit
Yeah.
jam.
GMTK.
Yeah, GMTK. We had one where we ended up as like the first one on the short list for the video and stuff like that. And we ended up trying to make like a full game out of that. And then we just decided to move away from that one
Yeah.
because a few things weren't working out. And so we were looking for a new game to make, and we're just kind of making a bunch of jams and doing small projects until this jam came along. And now we really like this game, and we've been working on it ever since the game jam as well. So, which would basically be like a sequel to this, or a remake of
Yeah.
it, I guess you could say.
Oh no. Friend got hit. So those
Yes, it is.
the other games that you mentioned, are they available on? Do you guys have an itch.io or?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
we have. If I can get the link, I can. Yeah, it's boz-float.itch.io.
Gotcha. I'll add a little something at the
Cool.
bottom of the screen as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
You know, one thing that's really neat about the way Casey has approached, game concepts from different jams is like, if you're trying to work on games, I think a lot of times, I'd say with music too, people will sit down and try to focus on one project and like, I got to nail this one. This is what I'm going to be. But if you kind of scattershot and you just kind of try different things and you give them a good chance every time, and you try different mechanics, so you try to compose different styles of music, you try to do stuff, not worrying so much about like nailing it and working on it forever and making it perfect. You can learn a lot, you know what I mean, about what your interests are, about what your capabilities are. You get a deeper understanding of what it means to make games and to make tunes and stuff. Like, if you look at the library of games on the Boz Float Itch, it's there's definitely some different offerings in there and different things, that different mechanics. Casey's trying to build different kind of themes. We're trying to create different kinds of music. And I think that, for me personally, like trying those different types of games over these different jams, it's just a really good opportunity to learn about yourself as what you can produce, in a game, whether you're a developer or designer or music producer or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. I saw a speech once or a talk by Rami Ismail.
Mm.
He was like a big indie thought leader.
Yeah.
And he did say that he used to always try to make games like perfectly polished and just like take it all the way from A to Z and just do that. And he only made like 2 or 3 games by the time he was working with his partner, which his name escapes me at the moment, Jan, I think. And he said that his partner had made like 200 games that none of them were polished and none of them had like any sort of A to Z thinking. It was more like A to C, just fun stuff that he tried and then threw away.
Yeah.
And then he said, which one of us do you think is the better game designer?
Yeah, the one who's worked on 2 to 3 games, or the one who has experience on, like you said, dozens and dozens.
So in that same time period, you have somebody who's worked on 3 games and just tried to put as much into them as possible, or somebody who did like try 200 different ideas.
Mm.
It's like, which one's the better game designer? And I would say it's the one who made the 200 games. So that, I've always tried to like not get too stuck to a certain project and kind of move around and experiment and try things. That's what game jams are kind of for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good mentality to have as well. I hadn't considered that, but you're right. Of just how much more experience you can gain from not jumping from project to project, but sort of being able to let go of one thing and move on to the next.
Yeah, and I've looked into, I've read a lot of books about like creators, not just game makers, but like writers and everything. And you can always see that they have their major projects and their minor projects. So they have the major projects that they're known for, but in between, if you look at some of their minor projects, like short stories or just like small paintings or like sketch series and stuff like that, you could see that those things kind of bubbled up into what became the major work.
I'm really struggling to keep myself alive at this point. My hunger is like nearly maxed, and my
Your hunger.
exhaustion.
You better start making some tough choices if you get the
Yeah.
opportunity to do it.
And the sand, of course, is getting so close. Oh man.
RNG will get you too.
Yeah, I'm trying hard not to backseat. I'm like, obviously you
Yeah,
picked
yeah.
this question.
I know it's so easy as the designer code to go, why are you making that choice? Obviously it's this one.
Yeah, haven't you played through this 400 hours while working on it?
Yeah. How has it been to have you guys had the chance to play this? I know it's pretty difficult with game jams. You sort of make them and put them out there, but have you had the chance to see people play the game?
Yeah, we've had a few people make some like Let's Play videos, and a lot of people just kind of come and just told us like, here's how it went. You know, like that was really cool. I did this. I really liked the relationship with friend, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Oh, you missed
Oh,
your
no.
desperate climb.
I did. I love the
yeah.
the thump as well.
Oh, the sound effect.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and then yeah.
That's the yeah.
That could have been a big win, but it backfired on you. I would have gone for it too.
You missed the chance of the O moment. Yeah, you could have got the O moment.
Yeah, I was
The O
desperate.
moment.
I was well. It's funny enough. I think that's pretty much the time we had, anyways, for the Let's Play. So I think it's kind of a poetic ending that I feel like it was inevitable that I was going to die, but everyone got to see the death of me.
Well,
Never
playing.
forget.
But yeah, I mean, we mentioned
Yeah.
it before that the game's available on you guys' itch.io page and all the other games as well that you've made. So if people want, I'll put it at the bottom of the screen.
yeah, and
Awesome.
if you don't mind us making a small, I don't know what you call these, but like we are working on a next version of this game, which is essentially a sequel or a remake or whatever. So
Yeah.
you know, if you're interested, come and follow the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah,
Good.
if you guys want to pimp out, I mean, you just did with the sort of sequel remake of this game, but if there's anything else as well, I always ask beforehand, before we end, that if there's anything else, go ahead and mention it.
You got the Twitter and the blog, right? You got the Discord. You can find us in different places. Casey is the master of those domains.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to the Twilight Tower itch page, you'll see all the information you would need if you wanted to follow this project, and you can sign up for the newsletter or whatever.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll certainly
And
give you guys a follow on use Twitter as well, so I can give you guys a follow there and see any updates coming for the eventual sequel to it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Casey, Justin, this was honestly a really, really good time to talk with you guys, and you guys seem like great guys, so this was really, really fun to do for me.
Awesome. Thank you. It's
Well,
great talking.
appreciate it, David, and getting together. Appreciate you playing through. Appreciate you giving the game a spotlight and giving gamers in general, small devs and these projects a spotlight is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure.